Everybody but Daisy. To God be the glory for the great, wonderful, and marvelous things that He has done. How blessed we are. For the day that He's made, we can rejoice and be glad in it. I am extremely grateful for these young men that I'm about to present to you because I've watched the maturation process and I'm seeing what God is doing. I kind of liken them to what today's NBA is like. You know, these young NBA stars, they ain't scared of them veterans no more. Man, they play, man. Used to be you had to come in, take your time, and not Jay Gilchrist and all them. Man, them fellas going for it. They try to take the stars out. So I want to thank them for being that kind of aggressive in terms of letting us know that they're not just their daddy's boys. They're their mom's boys. They're viable, capable businessmen who are going to help me with this endeavor God placed in my spirit. I am so challenged by what death and dying does to families, how people are so unprepared. And so without me any further ado, I don't know who's first, but I'm gonna say it like the store where you buy clothes, Brooks Brothers.
Amen, amen. First off, I want to thank Dr. Gillespie for the intro, for the invitation and the opportunity to be here. I thank you all for coming out. It's raining a little bit. It's 6:30, high traffic. You could be eating dinner or watching playoffs, but you're hanging out with me. So I take this as an honor, and I'll speak anywhere that wants to hear. But the beauty of tonight, I'm not trying to sell you a funeral. I'm talking about what we do and how to help you. If you pick me, that's a cherry on top. If you don't, I still love you. So we're going to pass out some material. We made plenty of folders. And if you need to take an extra for somebody, just get with us at the end. I want this to go all around. This is for everyone in the community that wants to learn. So I'm going to help on this side. We got a couple popping in. I'll wait. And I know a few people might come in a little bit later. We'll catch them with material. Denzel's going to be my eyes for me. So we'll work together. Well, what we did is we created a nice slideshow. But I'm off the script. I might bounce around a little bit. I don't want to put you to sleep. It's been a long, good day. So this is open conversation. If you have a question, jump in, cut me off. I'll answer it. I don't mind. I'm here to educate you guys on this process. I'd like to reintroduce myself just in case. My name is Danny Brooks, Brooks Funeral Home. We've been around in the community for 33 years, going on 34. I'm the proud owner. We're second generation. Our dad did start the company, but like he said, we're carrying on the torch. So we're very proud of that. We're San Antonio natives, of course, and we're here to uplift the community any way we can. Continue to pray for us. We purchased land right before COVID, thankfully. So our new location will probably groundbreaking late this year, early next year. A couple of hiccups, we're right there. So keep praying for us. It's a fun challenge. But I do, thank you. I do, and congratulations on Greater Love with this building next door, you know. I remember seeing this chart. So I'm so proud and congratulatory for you guys. It's awesome. But going back to it, what we do is we're a funeral home. We're funeral directors, embalmers. We're life insurance agents, which separates us from some of the other firms. And we're pre-need agents. That means you can prepay on your funeral. A while back, in about 2010, I noticed this same trend. I'm meeting a lot of good families, and they want these beautiful services, and we want to give them away if we can, but financing is an issue. So about that time, Netflix was really big, where they're sending the disc. So I started telling families, I said, you know, instead of $15 at the time, $9 at the beginning, I'm like, you know, if we get you life insurance, it's only like $20 a month. So I slowly motivated my younger families I was working with to get life insurance, and that's why we've created a large team of agents in the community. So that's something that I really push for families. Even if you have health issues, we can work with you if we as agents know that ahead of time. So that's something I just wanted to throw in there. One thing that you need to do, and I'm just giving general funeral advice, when you do maybe decide or consider a funeral home, you need to be careful and mindful. And this isn't just San Antonio, maybe you have family out of state or, in another city, is make sure they're a registered funeral home. We're licensed with the state of Texas. We have a license number. That means our building has passed the inspection. We're up to code. Our license number is 2111 for the funeral home. You can look that up. It's public info. So that's the first thing you need to do. The second thing is the person who you meet with in that room, you need to make sure they're actually a funeral director or they're pretending to be one. Nothing's wrong with that, but if they're licensed, they can guide you in the best route without hiccups and mistakes. Again, I'm licensed. My number's 113247. I've had a license since 2007, right after high school. So that's something. Denzel, we got a few, if we can take care of them. I'm going to go over to the second set of tabs. But it says, what does, and this is page 2 of our brochure, it says, what does a funeral director do? I can read all these bullet points, but the easiest way is, and I joke with people, I'm basically a wedding planner for a funeral. So I'm the opposite. I'm planning the funeral service for you. But I mean that in a good way. I'm like your coordinator for it. If you need me to get with the flower shop, the cemetery, the military, the police department, I deal with those people every day. Even if it's a funeral home in another state, my job as a funeral director is to arrange transport and get that loved one there for you. If you're doing all those steps, you can probably pick the wrong firm. Any family anywhere should be treated to just experience the grief. You shouldn't have to worry about calling all them people. I'm not saying it's a bad firm, but you need to just grieve. That's our jobs. We're your personal assistant, and you should use them. We're very transparent. If you do experience working with us, we give you our cell phone numbers. You can call us. You can text us. We do not believe in answering services. That means 24 hours a day, you're going to get an actual Brooks or one of our staff to answer the phone. And I think that separates some of the funeral homes from the others. Again, not downing them, but I don't like answering service, and I hate automated calls. So, again, that's just personal preference, but again, that's something to look for. What we need to do is plan for the unexpected and the inevitable. Death is promised until Jesus comes back, but we need to be prepared. And a lot of people are living out here day to day and not thinking about it. It's an uncomfortable conversation. It's not wanted to talk about, and I don't know about you, I have older relatives say, I don't want to talk about that, I'm gonna die, I don't want to hear it. But in seriousness, we got a plan. And there's a joke that says, well, just throw me away. You really don't want to be thrown away. Nobody wants the pine box, seriously. And I don't want to do that for you. But I really want people to consider and think about it. It's hard to imagine this world without us, but we need to talk about that more. So I do encourage families to look around, shop around, call the funeral home, ask questions, and then talk with your family with those hard conversations about what you want. I'm a firm believer in picking what you like. I have nothing against cremation. I am old school. I like a burial. But my grandma was cremated. That was her wishes. And we did that. And I don't know if everyone knows what cremation, and I'm sure you can kind of see more of the trend. You can have a full viewing first. Family and friends can say goodbye and then still cremate. So best of both worlds if that's what you want. Another thing, if you're a veteran, any veterans in the house tonight? Okay. Thank you guys for your services. There is a little common misconception that I served my funerals free. You might hear that. It's not, but it is a little bit. So what I tell people is the easiest theory is up until we get to the gates of the National Cemetery, you're going to have to pay for that portion. But once we cross through, example, our National Cemetery, Fort Sam, everything is included and free. By that, the headstone, the 21 gun salute, the flag folding presentation, and of course the playing of taps. You can get a plot, or if you're cremation, column wall burial. And again, if you're cremation, you'll get a plot, but it'd be a little smaller on purpose for the cremation area. But that's good to know. As well for my veterans, if you don't want to be buried at the National Cemetery, you can still get full honors at a private cemetery, example Medellin, or even at a country cemetery. And the last one, we're doing a service in cremation. They're not going to get buried. They don't want to place the ashes. They can come do honors in here at the church. Now, they won't, of course, fire the rifles, obviously, but they'll do the flag folding. They might do it outside if you want. But in all seriousness, I don't think a lot of people know their options. So that's what we want to do, is just educate you on some of those things. I'm going to go down to the last tab on the second page. It says Google reviews. I think reviews are important. I think they're nice because you got to earn them. You can't make them up. You can ask 2 or 3 friends, but you're going to run out of friends eventually. So I think we're proven. We have the highest rated reviews in the city, and that's Black, white, Hispanic, and I'm very proud of that. When I took over the firm, we had to really start kind of pushing that. I think it's important that families know about the good work. She was at Miss Franklin's funeral, one of our former receptionists, and it's nice that people can take the time and give us a compliment. I really appreciate that. But those words are important. And I don't know, like you guys, when I go to a restaurant, I'm looking it up before I even go. I'm on Yelp for that, but I want to see them pictures. You can't do that with all funerals, but you do need to look around and kind of call 2 or 3 of them, make sure those reviews match what you want. I'm not knocking them, but if it's a 3.1, be careful. So that's something I find important. Another platform that you see a lot of reviews on is Facebook, so you can peek on there. Of course, we have Yelp. Apple does reviews on their phones, probably not the most popular one. But again, just do your research. I feel like if your initial call is uncomfortable, again, it might not be the best fit. And that's not a bad thing. You got to be in charge. We, as people in this industry, funeral homes, funeral directors, we work for you. And that's how you should feel. You should be treated with excellence. So that's something I'm very proud of. And I think that families don't feel forced. Shop around. It's happened. Maybe you need a transfer. I'm not pushing that, but you need to be treated like a celebrity when you go. We're honoring your loved one. Average cost of funerals. The average cost of funerals in Texas right now is about $9,000. That's a lot of money. It's a lot, especially when we're not prepared. Just throwing it out there. I put a neat little flyer together for you guys. Our one-day service with the casket is under $5,000. That's a big help. Again, not pushing it, but call around. Funeral home to funeral home, that number can change drastically. We're family-owned, independent. If you call a corporation funeral home like Dignity Memorial, which is a corporation, that price is probably double. Again, just calling a few miles apart, the numbers are different. We're all independent. We control our numbers. I'm not saying their work's better, but we get the caskets from the same 3 vendors, Batesville, Matthews, and Aurora. We use the same 7 cemeteries. So calling around might help save as well. Just throwing it out there. What is the purpose of a funeral? To me, and that's self-explanatory, but we all have different theories, is it's to honor somebody. I love when we have a big Saturday funeral or Friday funeral, have reception and all that. I mean, I just grew up like that. That's what I like. But I understand times are changing. People don't necessarily want that. It's overwhelming. It's a lot of people. It's stressful. You got to deal with preparing food for everyone. We get that. So what I tell people is, let's make it the way you want. Again, maybe you pick to do a cremation. Great. But don't just do the direct cremation. I'm not knocking that. Don't even use a funeral home. Go have a private memorial somewhere you want, at a restaurant, a park, a balloon release. Do something just for that moment or that day to celebrate that person. And that's what I push to my families, because it's financial. This is the best thing I can do. It's okay. Take your family out if you can, or cook, have a celebration, have a balloon release at your house or wherever. But do something for that moment. I'm not a grief counselor. We do offer it. But a lot of people, I feel like, are dealing with these emotions 6 months to a year later and just having mental breakdowns. And it's because they didn't go through the grief of mom or the grief of dad. So I do encourage you, even if it's direct or even if it's 2 days later, not common, but it can be, take some time to yourself just to go through that. You can't fast forward grief. I know there's different steps, but you need it. Okay? I'm going to go to the next tab. It's the next page, called pre-burial insurance. You might hear this as pre-plan, pre-need, pre-burial insurance. It's all the same thing. Again, most funeral homes can sell you a funeral contract in advance, pre-plan. You need to do your due diligence, make sure they're licensed and legit as well, because this is a tricky one. We represent a company called National Guardian Life. That's who we're partnered with. I'm going to use Denzel as an example. Denzel has a pre-need. It's $10,000. Every month, Denzel pays $100. Where does that $100 go? Does anyone know or have an idea each month? So it's supposed to go into the trust for the company, National Guardian Life. If you're handing your $100 to that funeral home, I'm not saying it's a horrible idea, but what if they go out of business? Now you've lost that money, and there has been a few that have went out of business here, just saying. So you need to make sure, I'm just being honest, not calling them out, but you need to make sure that your money's in a trust or an account. And that's very important. A lot of people don't think about that, and they just drop off their payment, or they're coming to pick it up, even worse. So you need to just make sure your money's going into an actual life insurance / pre-need account. The reason I promote that is if you move to California, I can't help you there. I don't have a funeral home. I wish. You can transfer it to the funeral home at no cost, no issues, no problems. If the funeral home goes under, hopefully not, again, your money's not in our bank accounts. It's at the actual pre-need company. Fun fact, there was a company in 2011 called NPS, National Pre-Need Services. Well, they went out of business, and we had a few policies with them, and a lot of funerals, they were Texas-based. So families were like, well, what's going to happen? I said, well, let me call the state, and I'll figure it out. But true story, they were backed by the United States. Lincoln Heritage, who's a major company, you might have heard or seen them, bought the company. They honored every single pre-need. And to this day, I still have a few left. No question, takes about 3 weeks. We as the funeral home are paid. Of course, we have the funeral in advance. No problem. So make sure you're working with a national prearranged company to protect you. So that's a nugget I just want to throw out there. Of course. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Super easy. So when you do decide, hey, I want to switch to Brooks Brothers, I'm just throwing it out there, all seriousness, you just call the new funeral home and say, Danny, I really like that presentation on Wednesday, May 1st. I want to switch over. We call your pre-need company. We don't even have to call the funeral home unless you want us to. And we just get a form over called Transfer of Pre-Need. You continue your payments with the company, and you're signed up with Brooks. Fun fact, you didn't think about it, mom's passed, hypothetically. At the time of death, you can still walk into any funeral home. You're not forced or liable or stuck. A lot of firms won't mention that because they don't want to lose someone. I'm not saying I don't care, but I want you to go where you want. I don't want you to feel forced. If you don't like me, I won't be hurt. I want you happy. I want you to come by all means. But again, if you move to Austin, I mean, we can do it, but you might want to just keep a firm there, and I respect that. So
what if you already, so the burial is being, the prepaid burial is being paid for,
okay,
but you've already chosen a casket and stuff like that.
Super easy.
Does that follow you?
Absolutely. So like I mentioned, there's 3 major casket vendors in the United States, and there's like 50 sub-vendors, nothing against those. But we will honor or match it best we can. If they put the real name and stock number, super easy. If not, you'll go through our online store, which is active right now, and you can pick it out, or I can show you books in person, and we'll find the closest match. And that's another good thing, too. If the casket gets, they stop manufacturing it, well, they can't get it either, unless they hold one on storage, which would be wasting room. Well, we have to match it to those specs. So you'll pick pink, velvet interior, ceiling. We have to match it, and that's a part of the requirements to do a pre-need. And if they don't, then again, they'll have to deal with the state and those issues. But that's one thing we pride us on. We will take on any pre-need best we can and try to help you. And sometimes, I'm just using them as example, we'll get a one from Porter Loring that's way higher than our number. Well, at the time of passing, I'll be like, by the way, this was 6. You're gonna get a refund for that difference. I'm not gonna say, well, you're stuck to this number. I'll write you a check for the difference. Wow. Not every firm will, but wow. I want you to get what you pick at that time, and I can help. So that's another one that doesn't get talked about. Excuse me. Was there one other question right here? Or you already got it?
That was my question. If she paid $10,000 and your funeral is worth $5,000, what happens with that?
Well, I kind of threw it out, but exactly. You ideally should get a refund from the funeral home. They should cut you that check. Normally, they need to get it verified, probably about 3 business days. So by the funeral, you should have that difference. Some firms will say, I want to wait till we get the death certificates, which that's kind of their leverage, which is okay too. I don't blame them. But like I said, Danzo and I work for Mutual of Omaha. So we know with every mutual policy, I can call the back line and just verify, is this policy been paid? And I get a guarantee. Versus if I don't work for a company, nothing against Primerica, I don't know, so I might want to wait before I start distributing refunds, you know? Another thing is, I'm gonna skip over to life insurance because we hit that one really good. Does anyone not have life insurance? Okay, well, we're at 100%. This might be the first, Denzel. I'm gonna just skip that one. No, I'm gonna tell you a little bit. Life insurance, as we know, everyone in here has life insurance. It is super important. I mean, it's ideally the pre-need is to pay for yourself. That's the last thing you technically should buy for yourself. The life insurance, ideally, if we're able to, is to be left for your spouse, your children, maybe even great-grandchildren. This is what we call, and all these videos are flying out now, we've been talking about this, is generational wealth, is you're helping the next wave of family members. So a lot of people were trained just to get life insurance just to pay for the funeral. And you can. But if you're able to get it early, you'll have enough left to help the next wave of people. And that's what I try to just educate or tell people. It might be a little late, but maybe you can get just a little something to help the son pay off the car or the granddaughter to go to college if they don't get a scholarship. So just think about that, you know, if you're trying to help somebody. Life insurance is a little tricky because health is a factor versus pre-need. It doesn't matter what your health is, you're gonna get approved. So that's one thing. But I do tell people, if you're calling those 1-800 numbers or shopping around for life insurance, just be honest with the agents, even me, because once you get blacklisted with the medical board, every company is gonna flag you and you're gonna get a denial anyway. But if I know First or Denzel, we can call the underwriters privately and say, well, what can we do? What loopholes can we segue to help this person? They'll say, well, we can do a universal index policy, all this stuff. And I'll go into that later at another time. I don't put you to sleep, but we can help you if we know. But a lot of people don't tell me the backstory, and you know, they got a lot of issues, and I wish I could help them, but they've already been blacklisted, and I'm the 5th person they visited, you know, so it's a little late. But again, those are things, if you're talking with people or thinking about it, I know everybody here has life insurance or you're helping a friend, just throw that out there. Let the agent know, just be transparent, and even wherever you go, they should be able to help you with that. Of course. Denzel, you want to grab that mic? I got you.
If you already have a life insurance, say I have a life insurance policy already,
Okay.
and I wanted to come to Brooks, can I come to you and set up a plan off my life insurance?
So,
I mean, can I make arrangements already?
that's a good question. Some funeral homes will say yes, some will say no. This is my solution, and we just had one Saturday. Young lady comes in, says, I'm just making up the number, $20,000 of life insurance. I want to pre-plan everything. Of course, we'll get her information, we'll put it in our system, our database, we'll print her out a contract. On our contract, it says, this funeral is to be paid by, I'm just using my company, Mutual of Omaha, policy number XXX1. With the life insurance, though, we can't lock the price. That's what the pre-need's for. So we can put it on paper, which is a start, but again, those prices might go up, they might go down. We do run promotions and specials, so you never know. But again, we can at least have something documented so everybody's aware, and that's very helpful because I get a lot of people, they'll say, well, my dad came in here 5 years ago and paid everything off, and I'll say, he did come in, but he just told me what he wanted, and I'll still document it with or without insurance in case I'm no longer here, Denzel or the rest of the team can figure it out. But a lot of people just come in and kind of window shop, and we try to document everything in our system for those reasons, just in case they don't pick. But we'll put potential customer, date, time stamped, everything, so when they do come back, I'll be like, your dad he never started it. I hate to be that bad news, but at least they know, and they'll be, oh yeah, he did mention he was gonna get it started or something, most time. So, but that's just something good to know. Here's one thing, it's topic number 2, it's called when death happens, what to do. Oh, I'm sorry. Oh, that's a big one, thank you. Contestability, has anyone ever heard about that with life insurance? The policy is contestable? Anyone? Okay. I feel a lot of companies will push those commercials that say, sign up today, die tomorrow, we'll pay it. Well, that's not true. Accidental, put an asterisk. But if you have regular life insurance, you have to have it for 2 years and 1 day, no matter what company in the United States. That is a fact. It's on the fine little print, probably on page 85. But you need to look, or bring it by and I'll highlight it. Because I have met so many families, and that arrangement gets really hard when they're upset and mad, and like, well, the agent didn't say it. And I know why they didn't say it, because they want to make that commission. But again, I'm the funeral director, so I'm going to see you anyway. So I make sure, and a lot of people won't use me. They'll be like, oh, he said it won't. I'm telling you now, because if you don't make that 2 years, they're not going to pay. They're only going to pay those premiums that you made for that 10 months, 8 months, 15 months. My grandmother, again, is a great candidate. She knew she had cancer, and she was trying to be helpful. She got like 9 policies, and she only made like 6 payments, which is okay. But we still called each company and got back the premium, so that was nice in itself. She was trying to help, but she didn't know. And a lot of people do that, where mom or dad have a couple policies at the last end run. They said they were perfectly healthy. They're not going to pay that. Now, there are certain stipulations. Example, I'm going to pick 50 years old, healthy, had a physical, 2 weeks later has a heart attack, brain dead, passes. They're going to contest it, but if you went back for 2 years on their health medical charts, nothing was wrong, they were perfectly healthy, it's a good chance they'll pay it. But that's a hard rolling of the dice that we don't want to do. So I just pitched, let's get to 2 years and 1 day, and you know there's no questions. Most funeral homes, even including us, we don't take on contestable policies. The reason is it takes up to 1 year to get an answer. So it's kind of hard to have the funeral May 1st, 24, then call you May 2nd, 25th, and be like, by the way, they didn't pay, you know. So, and that's pretty much everyone I know. If they tell you different, hey, they beat me. But I just want to be honest with you. Most places don't do that. So I just like you to know. Topic 2, what happens during the death process in summary. What I like to tell people is a lot of them kind of panic and call the funeral home first. I know that sounds crazy, but I hope, first off, if they're under hospice, call the nurse first, because they need to come out and pronounce if they're under that care. If no hospice and they just fell out, you need to call 911. That might sound funny or crazy, but a lot of people call the funeral home panicking, which is fine. And I'll be on three-way while we call them, but you need to report it. It has to be officially reported. If it's in a hospital, it's a little different. You'll let the nurse or the doctor, if they're in the room, and say, what funeral home have you picked? But this is a critical moment. The hospitals, and not knocking, generally you feel kind of rushed in that moment. I'm going to say for every 10 hospitals, 9 of them have a morgue. They don't use them as much as they should. Tell them, I'm not ready. I need some time. And the loved one will be fine. Don't feel pressured at 3 a.m. and just call someone. You know, tell them, I need a day. They're not going to do anything. They don't want a lawsuit either. So just tell them, you're in control. Like I mentioned at the beginning, we, hospitals, cemetery, life insurance, funeral home, we all work for you. At the end of the day, you're the VIP. So you got to remember that. You're in charge. Again, after a day or two, they might get a little more aggressive. But again, just tell them, I need some time. I had a family have their loved one at the medical examiner for 15 days. It wasn't because they didn't want to pick me. They were like, we want to make sure we get this together. And I'm like, you don't have to pay up front. But they were adamant. And they just kept telling me, we're not ready. And we got them. We took care of everything. But you're in control. So just remember that, you know. I feel so bad when I hear these stories that, well, we just called the first one, and it didn't go the way they wanted. So that's something I'd like to share. Again, start to finish, ideally for a funeral or cremation, you call the police or the hospice, then you call the funeral home. From there, normally we're going to come out to the place of passing, the nursing home or the house. If it's a suspicious or questionable death, they're going to take you to the medical examiner, because they're going to wonder why this 30-year-old man passed out. I'm just using him because I don't want to point at nobody. Scare you. But in all seriousness, they're going to want to know why. So then they're going to perform an autopsy. If it happens Friday afternoon, they're not going to release generally to Monday after 1. If it happens Monday, then the next business day. So just keep that in mind. A lot of people, I want to see my mom. Yes, ma'am, but they're not going to release her because the texts from Friday don't come back. Sometimes they will, they really don't do autopsies on the weekend. Example, we got a call on Friday, Fiesta, the whole world's closed in San Antonio. And we couldn't go. The medical examiner just told us, no, you can't come. That doesn't make sense. But again, the family, I put it on speaker. I said, I'm ready. But we couldn't pick them up. And again, we went on Monday, no problem, and everything's going good. We're actually going to cremate her tomorrow. But, just want you to know that part. So after you call the funeral home, normally a day or so, when you're ready, remember that, when you're ready, go in to do arrangements. A lot of funeral homes, even me, will be like, did you want to come in tomorrow, 11, 10? If you're not, tell them, hey, I got family coming. I need 2 more days. They should say, okay, no problem. Again, that they should. After you do arrangements, generally within the next week, we have the funeral. We can do it 2 weeks later. We could go 3 or 4. Ideally, our prime optimal point for presentation purposes is within 10 business days. We want to try to have a service. We have a guy right now in the funeral home in the freezer. We've had him for about 67 days, and that's not disrespectful. The family's having some really tough issues. And I'm not going to keep invoicing them, but I'm like, look, she said, when I get my taxes, I got you. So we trust her. And again, I'm here to help, because most firms are going to charge you $25 a day, but what's the purpose, if you're already having a hard time? Just be transparent with us and we can work with you. Again, so, that's things that we try to do as a firm. So after your initial arrangements, you'll come in and then you'll pick a day and time. From there, we'll have a service, and then either we're going to do a burial or cremation, and then normally we'll do aftercare. By that I mean we personally will try to call you and check up on you. Then we can recommend some of our people to talk. Some people aren't into it. Grief counseling, I'm not pushing it, but talk to somebody. You don't have to talk to one of the counselors, but talk to some family or friends. Like I said, that grief, you got to go through those stages by yourself or with your family. Just get it out. It's hard. And we're still sad about Miss Franklin, but we got to keep pushing too. We got families to take care of. I'm gonna go to the next page, burial versus cremation. I touched a little bit about this at the very beginning. I'm old school. I do like a good old church funeral, but I respect the rise of cremation. I get it. It's convenient. It's the best of both worlds. You don't have to pay a cemetery 3, 4, 5 more thousand. And or you might not want to be viewed, or you don't want to be with the bugs. I get it. So I don't push families. I want you to pick what you like. I hope everybody can get the biggest, most expensive casket or the nicest cremation memorial. So we're not pushy. We're not salesmen at the end of the day. We're your concierge service. That's what I tell people. So just remember that. Can I just get a raise of hands who are kind of on the cremation board, just to kind of see, just for fun? Okay. And traditional hands? Traditional burial? Okay. I love it. But I love cremation people too. So not for that reason. I like a church. Anyway, I'm going to keep going. But what I did is we created a nice little thing called the Survivor's Checklist and some additional info. Some things that aren't talked about that are very important is the loved one's passed, the funeral's over. Now we got to start handling some of the uncomfortable business. Is the house still in mom or dad's name? Do we got to go to probate? Do they move the house to a trust before they pass? Those are things that aren't fun. So again, hopefully you can do that before. If not, though, I'm not an expert in that field, but I can refer you to people to help you. And again, it should be a free consultation just to talk at the beginning. But again, they might charge some fees. But if you plan for it now, before it's too late, you might can help you on some of that stuff. So that's important. We do got some other ideas too. Not ideas, but tabs. Some of the colored pages in the back are called additional info. There is a program through San Antonio, Bexar County area called Pauper's Burial. This is where the city will come in to assist. So you have to qualify for it. And I know somebody's like, what about that guy y'all have? They have too many assets, so they don't qualify for it. Again, that's not, they got to sell some land or a house. I don't know the logistics, but if you have too much, you can't go through the county. It's for normally homeless, nobody's there. They have to prove that without a reasonable doubt. So I don't deal with those meetings. You got to go downtown, but it's really helpful. Those are those pages. I believe they have, let me see, is it a red color, if I'm not mistaken? The next thing is veteran burials. We talked a little bit about, again, for our vets, inside the gates, they're covered. Outside, you do have to take care of. The last option, which is I think kind of unique and never talked about, is donation. You could donate your body to science. It's very helpful. People say, well, how do you know how to embalm? Well, we learned from families that donated themselves to science. How do they perform heart surgeries? Again, they have to donate. You can't do it when someone's passed. You have to pre-register, and you have to be accepted. Not everyone will get accepted. They have a certain requirement. They want a certain number of blacks, certain amount of Hispanics, certain amount of short people, certain amount of tall, certain amount of weight. The reason is, you say, well, why? Well, they want someone 400 pounds to perform this transplant to figure out to get through those tendons and ligaments. And they want someone really small to try that out. So there's different requirements at different times. So you just got to pre-register for that. So that's kind of my presentation at this time. If anyone has any questions, I'd love to try to answer them. Yes, ma'am. I'll start here. I'm going to come back.
Like a certain amount, like if we decide to go with the $10,000, then you'll just pay that certain amount, like what, 150, or how does that go?
That's an excellent question. I should have touched on it better. Thank you. So pre-need is great. You can pick from a 1-year plan to a 10-year plan, and you can pick a budget that's comfortable. They'll take that number and divide it by 10 years to pay on it, or 5 years, or 3 years. The also benefit is if you get a lump sum later and you want to pay it off early, there's no penalty. So that's something great. And then the last question, I should have said this earlier, you paying it for half the amount of time. Well, then half the difference is due at the time of. Yes, ma'am.
One more question. So can you would the kids be able to use it for tax purposes once that person passes, or do you know? So
you're supposed to file your last tax return when that person dies if they're receiving income, but will it be a deduction for the tax purposes? Is that what you're asking?
Or could I use it if I'm paying for it?
I got you. Yes, ma'am. So a funeral expense is what they call a life deductible, like a wedding. So you could claim that if you're the primary signer. If it's like 5 or 6 people doing multiple payments, you just have to show your CPA or accountant those receipts to prove it, but that would count as a deduction. Huh? Yes, if you help pay for someone's funeral, yes. But on your own, it's not a deduction. But again, I'm not a CPA, so just double check, or an accountant. Just make sure. But if you're paying for someone else, that's a life expense. It's a deduction. I thought I had a question here, and I'll come back. Yes, sir.
To you as a funeral home. But yet and still, I'm looking over here at a mortuary. Can you explain the difference to your work as a funeral home as to me seeing what we call a mortuary? What's the difference?
Yeah, that's a great question. So the term mortuary, funeral home, and cremation center. Funeral home, to me, and this is my interpretation, is a full service need. We're not only handling just the burial like a traditional mortuary, but we're specializing in, again, cremation, life celebrations, green burial, life insurance, and pre-planning. So again, that term I use loosely because there are mortuaries that can offer it, but in the early 60s, 70s, when it was mortuary, it's just one category. Now those terms are so loosely used. An example, back in the day, we called it a wake, but now they call it a visitation. The difference is the wake generally is where the minister is speaking for a brief moment, opening up for remarks, but nowadays they call that a visitation too. So that gets confusing for some of the younger gens. So, but not all mortuaries can't do everything, just so you know. So I'm not downing anyone with the name mortuary. That's what it used to mean. I'll come here.
Okay. So as a veteran, what is the steps for like the go to Fort Sam? Because that's not really talked about a lot as far as like versus Medellin.
Absolutely. So ideally, if you have your DD 214, your discharge papers, you can call the scheduling office, and I can provide that number for anyone that needs it, and you can kind of put your name in the list in the system early. It won't reserve a certain spot, but when you do pass, all your info's in there. If you don't do it, it's okay. When you get to the funeral home for that initial arrangement, we can still set that up in about 15 to 20 minutes on the phone with them. So a lot of people bring that information, the DD-214 in, and we can do it. If you can't find it, still come to the funeral home. We should be able to look them up. The worst case, they'll do an investigation. It takes about 3 business days to get an answer. Once we do, then we can schedule. But if you have it, it makes it a lot quicker and easier. We can do that the same day. Okay, I'll come back. Yes, ma'am.
Okay, say if you have a pre-need and you have it scheduled out, say, for 6 years,
Okay.
and you expire within, say, the 2nd year of the pre-need,
Mm-hmm.
how does that work? Is
Great.
it paid half, or is it paid only the time you end?
Great question. So, anyone remember my favorite thing is 2 years and 1 day? If you answer that pre-need correctly and don't put no to health issues just because, like if you're really healthy, 2 years and 1 day, most companies, ours example, National Guardian Life, will pay the difference. If the person is sick and it's proven, like you put, yes, I have heart issues, and then you pass from a heart attack, they'll only pay what you put in, the half or the 2 years worth. So that's where, again, if you're transparent with us up front, we can probably help you. Because if you do, they're going to contest it, and they're still going to research that info. But after 2 years and 1 day, if you're up front, they'll pay the difference. I don't advertise that because some people get to, 15 months, and they're mad. So it is there. But I just say, well, let's get 2 and 1. 2 years and 1 day, we know we're good. I got one question way in the back.
We have a question for online.
Okay.
The question is, can you get a will from D.W. Brooks, or where should I go? And this is from Justice Gratefully, Living Free on Facebook.
Absolutely. Well, thank the online viewers. I can't write a will personally, but if you call me, come in, just call us the funeral home tomorrow. I can direct you to people that actually write the will. For our veterans, there's through the military, they'll do it for free. And there's a couple of companies here, like Rocket Lawyer, that can do it for free. I do like talking to somebody when you're dealing with wills, though, versus online. You might not put everything in there. But just call me tomorrow if they choose to, and I can help walk them through that for sure. Did we have 2 hands back there or just one? Just making sure. Okay, just making sure. Yes, ma'am.
Yes, I just need to talk with someone because I want to be buried back home, but I want to have services here if I'm still here in San Antonio. So how do I go about that? Do I do the ones back home, or for the arrangements, or here in San Antonio?
I got you covered. So yesterday, Denzel and I, we shipped a loved one to Virginia. So we're very comfortable in transport. Being a military town, we ship a lot of people home, and a lot of people come this way. So if you choose, and where's home, if you don't mind me asking? Okay. So I was thinking out of the state. But if it's in Texas, even East Texas, just hypothetically El Paso, that's a long drive. But we can do it. You can use the initial funeral home here if you chose to do everything. Or you could call the funeral home back home and say, I want you to handle my arrangements. What they should do, is they'll contact a funeral home here to partner. And they'll say, can you get her picked up? Can you hold her till we get here? And they'll physically drive down and take you back home. They can fly. Example, we do ship loved ones from here to El Paso. That's a long drive. But again, it's up to the funeral home. But I do it all the time. I get calls in Philadelphia, New York. I can't do it, but I can get you home. What we do, same thing as I mentioned. I'll tell the family, you don't have a funeral home of your choice. Let's call 3 right now on speakerphone, and you pick. And that's how we get you back. We can. If you pre-need it, we can do it. You could leave the beneficiary as the funeral home. I personally don't encourage that. I think you should find a trusted friend to sign your documents for you. Not in a bad way. I just think it's best you have a family member do it. But we do have people to leave their stuff in the estate of their name. That means the next of kin can sign off for them. So they're leaving it. If you put it to the funeral home, hypothetically, and they're not ethical, they could. If you put it in the estate of yourself, they can't change it. And the only thing that can happen is someone can sign off for you. So you want to make sure that firm puts it in your name as your estate. That way it's locked. Sorry. Oh, I thought I heard something else. It's called basically what my brother said, it's called an irrevocable assignment. That means we can't change it, your family can't change it, or your children. So you could put them as beneficiary, they couldn't change it. Yeah, and the only catch is someone's gonna have to call the funeral home and let them know that you've transitioned. Because if they take you somewhere else, we won't get a call or no. So that's important. As long as they can call us, we can handle it. So, yeah, and Texas is very good at honoring that. They won't release it unless we do what's on that contract. So, yeah, great question. I got one over here. Yes, ma'am.
It's not really a question. I was just sharing with Pastor. Matter of fact, it was crazy. I was sharing with him on yesterday some of the challenges that some of you all know that I faced with mother and her passing. So she was old school. She was 92. She just passed in December. So she was 92. She was old school. So she didn't share a lot with me. And that created great, great challenges, especially with her home. So you all know she went in a nursing home, all that thing, and how those things work. What happens is that now it's a huge fight. So whereas I was not on a deed, whereas there's no will, whereas there's all these things that's going on, you're in a nursing home for 4 years, you have a whole house, when I can't do anything with it. So what happens? State wants to take it, all these different things going on, so now I'm in this huge fight, right? So there's there's quite a few documents that would help, but there would have been one particular document that would have kind of helped. So if you have things like that in your name and you have children or whatever the case may be, make sure you all take care of that, whether it be with an attorney or do the research. I've learned way too much at this point. I almost feel like a paralegal. I've learned way too much at this point, to try to, moving forward. If you have any questions, whatever I've learned, I definitely will share. But if you have something and you don't want it to go back to the state, and what's really happening, is that she's in the regentrification area. So we already know how that goes. They want that stuff at pennies on the dollar. Matter of fact, let me give you an example. Someone called me on yesterday and says, hey, we have an offer for you. I said, okay, what are you gonna offer? $1,250. So these are the kind of things that I'm faced with. So definitely I don't want anybody else to be in the same predicament where your hands are completely tied and you have to deal with grief and you have to deal with all these other things and you've got to close out everything. And then y'all already know I'm the only one. So there's nobody else that can do it. There's nobody else that can handle it. I can't give it to somebody else and say, hey sis, hey bruh, y'all take care of this. So make sure that you take care of it, do your due diligence to make sure your home is protected or your other assets or whatever the case may be. Otherwise, then, Bexar County gets your little stuff for 20 cents. So, and you've worked hard for it. You've paid on a house for 30 years. It doesn't make any sense. So if you've bought something just recently, if you've had something for a while, there's something called transfer on death. If she would have just signed the transfer on death, then we're great. But then she couldn't do it because she had a brain injury, so they wouldn't let her sign. So all these things we don't think about. We think we're gonna live forever. We think we're gonna have all our faculties forever, and that doesn't happen. So really, I just implore you to make sure that you take care of those little things before you get to the point where you're like, wow, because it definitely, if nothing else, is overwhelming.
Thank you for sharing that. That's where we're going to have to probably get with an attorney for those legal issues. But again, I have a couple referrals that we can try. And like I tell any family, at least the consultation should be free just to pick their brain. You shouldn't pay just to talk for the first 10, 15 minutes. So, but thank you for sharing that. That's really some good stuff right there. Yes, ma'am.
Okay, what she's saying, I am 77 years old. And my family calls me morbid. They think I'm obsessed with death, but I'm not. When I was 19, I was telling my mother, okay, this is what I want you to do if something happens to me. I said, because I don't want my ex-husband to have control of my children.
Fair enough.
But because I was thinking ahead, and I've always just crazy. My mother would say, something wrong with you. So, and then when the kids got grown, and I said, okay, this is what I want y'all to do. This is what I want to happen to me, for me, when I die. And they're like, Mama, really? And I said, yeah, pay attention. So I went and got power of attorney. If I get sick, who's going to take care of that medical power of attorney? If my financial thing, the one kid do that one, and another kid does something else. And it's all there. You get it, go get your, you can get it online, do it, go get you an attorney. They can go over it with you, whatever. But don't wait till you get old to do it. Start young. And then, in your mom, she's 19, and people like that, they didn't really want to deal with death. You know, it's to me, I know I got to die someday. It don't bother me for some strange reason. So I'm making plans, and there's some other things. I wanted to donate my body, but my son said, Mama, you can't donate the body because you said you were an organ donor on your license. I said, okay. So then I said, I do not want to be buried, and I'm not being ugly, but I said, the money y'all waste on the funeral and the casket, I don't want that. I want to be cremated. And I said, and so one of the grandkids said, can I have your ashes? I said, you cannot have the ashes. My burial plot is paid for next to my mom. I want the ashes to go in the urn and put it in the ground. So they know everything. And so because I told them I wanted to be cremated, they said, Mom, tell your brother, because you know we're going to have a fight. So I called him up. I said, okay, this is what I'm telling my kids, and they want me to tell you so you'll know, and you're not going to give them any hassle. He said, no, sister, that's what you want. That's what we'll do. I said, okay, y'all heard him. So tell everybody specifically what you want, and then get it in writing. They can't touch it.
Thank you for sharing. Real quick, just to piggyback on that, rights to disposition. So with the cremation, even if brother didn't want to do it, the children are next in line if she's unmarried. So it might be a family fight, but legally, we get the children assigned, we can perform the cremation. So, absolutely. Yes, ma'am. So, just throwing that out there. Of course. Yes, ma'am.
As far as your family members, if they don't like to talk about it, it's a good thing to do it. Because with my mother and father, I thank God what they did, because they had the pre-arrangements. The casket's already picked out, everything. And, I mean, it works out. I mean, you'll have your time to grieve, but if you have all that settled, especially for military, your DD-214 is the most important thing that you need.
Say it again.
DD-214. And then when you do make the funeral arrangements, of course, you know, with Fort Sam, time, date, you're really going off of them. And then the funeral home. So make sure your family, your loved ones, if they've been in the military, make sure they have that DD-214.
And it's proven, and I think families that might have experienced where they've pre-planned versus it's all of a sudden, I guarantee you the process is a lot smoother. Even though it's hard to lose them, it's not stressful being like, well, I need to get this out of my back pocket, or even trying to find the insurance. Hopefully we have it, but it's a lot easier, even for the funeral home too, to help you. We can just focus on date and time and where you want to go. So we definitely encourage, have that talk. Yes, ma'am.
Yes, I had a question. What about people that have pre-existing conditions, and it's already noted in your medical records? And so they're trying to get life insurance right now. A lot of the insurance companies they'll take your down payment, then 2 or 3 months later, they send you a rejection. So we have people that have pre-existing conditions, but they still need insurance.
Absolutely.
Do y'all have like certain insurances that you can go to that would take pre-existing conditions?
Yes, ma'am, we do. Like I mentioned early, if you heard it, you need to let the agent know up front these conditions, and we can work around it. Mutual of Omaha is very strict, so we need someone pretty healthy. But I have some other companies, example, Americo, Foresters, who I work with, who can help in those areas. My dad is a big guy. He's like 360. We had to get him with Americo. Mutual said, you know what, based off the index and the weight, he's too heavy, which is okay. But I didn't submit it. I just said, Dad, I got this one. So if you give us those factors, we should be able to figure it out. as agents. So, yes, ma'am. They're going to find it, like you said. They will find it somehow.
Every time we go to the doctor, they document it. You have a whole different file for your medical. So even if they diagnose you and diagnosed you wrong, you need to know what's in your medical records, because it will stop you from getting a lot of things.
Very true. It's really true. Yes, ma'am. We see that a lot with some of our veterans, where we need a certain thing on the death certificate so their spouse can get those benefits. So we have to get those medically amended because they didn't put that initial thing we need. So she's right. Yeah, of course.
Okay. So now, if I understood you correctly, you did say that you guys would transport or.
Yeah, we will assist getting you
I'm
home.
from Dallas, and I'm almost certain that my kids will want to send me back to Dallas.
I'm laughing with my brother.
And is that extra, or does that come with the package?
Whoa, 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 whoa. I got you covered. So, side story. Y'all are picking great towns. We went to Dallas last week. A family called, what's the funeral's name? It wasn't Golden Gate, it was the other one. Sandra Clark. She has red vehicles, which are pretty cool. I've never seen red funeral home cars. But anyway, that was cool to me. I'm a funeral home guy. But Sandra Clark called us, her staff, and said, hey, can you pick up this loved one at Methodist? Okay. And they said, can you bring him? I said, oh, okay, because normally they come down. So we did. We sent one of our guys to Dallas, and we worked together. They did invoice the family that fee, and Sandra Clark paid us, and, the family's happy. You could pick. You could say, Danny, will you travel? We've done funerals in Houston, Austin, Dallas, Oklahoma. Where did we go in East Texas? It was really fun. Midland. We were in Midland. I was there last year, and interesting town. But we travel. Just so you know, when I go outside the state, my license aren't active, so I have to partner with a funeral home in, example, our neighboring state, Oklahoma. But we go to Louisiana all the time, so you got options.
No. I would want to have it here.
Oh.
But I would probably be buried back in Dallas.
Well, we can do that for sure.
So would that be an extra fee if you all take me back to Dallas to bury me?
I got you covered. So if we look at the real small print, no, I'm just kidding. We got the first 50 miles covered. After 50 miles, we do charge extra, and that's common throughout. But we're up front, but we do a 50-mile circle around San Antonio. And just so you know, that's not 50 miles like going to the house, then going back to the funeral, then the church. It's just basically we say from here to Welder or Luling, Well, the reason we have a soft spot for the country is, and I didn't mention, I was so excited to talk, we started in Gonzales in 1990. So Denzel and I, we're country as can be. I mean, beer and barbecue's what we do. So we're very proud of the country. My mom's born and raised in Luling, so we have a soft spot for all the country towns. We love the city, obviously, but we travel there all the time. So we just say kind of about a 50, 60-mile radius is included. But when we go north of Austin, we do charge extra. When we go to Houston, but we'll be very fair. We won't, make it hard on the family, but it'll be very competitive. We're not trying to lose a family over $100 travel fee. So it'll be, we'll take care of you. Absolutely. Like I mentioned, still to this day. Yes, ma'am. We just were in Luling this weekend. I was kind of mad because we had 3 services. So Denzel's team went to Luling. I went to another place, and then I had a memorial, so he got to have barbecue and work the service. But, and my dad just left. He didn't even stay with me. So my mom, dad, and Denzel just having a great time after the funeral, sending pictures. And I'm just by myself working these services. But we do still travel to this day. We love the road trips. Buc-ee's is a must on the way back after the work. We don't mind. We are a traveling funeral home, so we enjoy that. And we'll take care and cater to that. I think we had a question or comment over here.
One more question.
Of course.
Buying a casket, purchasing your casket, would it be cheaper for us to purchase it with you guys or go to a casket company and buy our casket?
This is a good one. No, I'm just kidding. So I tell families this, and I'm using this example. We're going to ship someone to Philadelphia. I don't know why that's on my mind. So I tell families, when you pick me to ship you back home, with both funeral homes, see who has the casket, the same spec, and pick the best price. Even online, say, hey, funeral home, Brooks Brothers, this is what I like. Can you match it or beat it? I guarantee you I will beat it because I want to earn your business. And that other funeral home, if they don't, then you can purchase it. So we have these packages that have caskets included, different colors and tiers. But if you pick one, I'm confident we will match it or beat them. I can't speak for the other firms, but it is Texas law that you can take a casket to a funeral home. You don't have to buy from them. And I have no problem with that, long as you're happy. Did I get a comment over here? Oh, yes.
But if someone purchases a casket from somewhere else, you run the risk of it being defective, and that is not at the liability of the funeral home. Does that make sense? A lot of people want to show up with a Sam's casket or something like that.
True story.
And then when it goes to the funeral home, you're mad because it has a dent or something. So you at least get a guarantee from where you're purchasing the casket from. So I would really look at that before you try to have one shipped to the funeral home.
And I'll just jump in really quick and say why is we take pictures of even our inventory when it comes in, and Batesville, Matthews, the largest two companies, will say, hey, there's a dent. Well, they'll come right back in about an hour and a half because their warehouse is in Selma. So all day I can argue and complain. But if you do get one shipped in and it has actually happened, it had a huge scratch. Well, they couldn't get the new casket in time. So what happened is the family purchased one from us. They argued with them. They basically filed a claim, and about a month later, they end up taking the casket because the company lost the claim and they just had a free casket. So, but I told them, you could take it to a paint shop and paint it. Fun fact, early 90s, these unique colors weren't out. So a family wanted a unique, like, football team color, and we got it painted at a paint shop. So they could get that scratch fixed, but it's a little bit of a headache. So just weigh it out. Nothing against Sam's or online buying. Just maybe be there when the funeral home opens the crate and inspects. And you should, like UPS or FedEx, you should have tracking and know, like, it's going to arrive at, round 1 or 2. And just be there and make sure, because when that guy drives off, it's really hard to argue and file for that. So.
And I just have one more comment, and just to kind of piggyback off of what a lot of you ladies were saying. I work for the VA, and I tell my families all the time to call 3 companies on anything that you do. I definitely stand by Brooks Funeral Home. I think they're an excellent company, but I don't refer family if they're not good. I make sure I check. I make sure I read their reviews. You go on Google. When my father passed away, everybody was telling us what to do, how to do it, and we did not know. And as when you know better, you do better, and that's the purpose of this, right? So one thing that I did learn, and especially for African Americans, is we don't know what probate is. We don't know about living trust. So this is very, very important, and that's why you have to appreciate something like this, because I always tell my families, you never want to do this while you're grieving. You can make smart financial decisions today while you're not sick, while you're not crying. And so if you get an opportunity, you have a flyer, you have numbers. Now, this is big for me, transparency. If you look at 3 other funeral homes and go on their website, you will not see a price. You will not. So you have a baseline here, whether you choose Brooks Funeral Home or not, but you see there, you're going to walk in and say, I want that $4,999 package, right? And and what are the extra costs? What are our extra costs outside of that $4,999?
Let's go over that really quick. One thing, pride us in Texas, there's no sales tax, so it's just that number. The extra things that we might need is a cemetery if we're not veterans. Death certificates, the first one's $21 from the state, each additional is $4. You, the family, can go get them, but make the funeral home, it's no extra. It shouldn't be extra. We're not allowed to charge more than the state fee. And maybe you want us to help design programs or not. A lot of families have younger people that can do that designing and graphics. We can too, but you have that option. You don't have to use the funeral home programs. You can make your own stuff or flyers. That's it. We're very, like she said, we're very transparent. I think that's big. I know our industry is like a big secret. People don't really know what happens. So after, if you'd like, I'll be standing in the back. I have a TikTok page where I make educational funeral videos. I'm not dancing. I'm really giving you some information. But I think it's great where it talks about some of those things that we don't talk about. So definitely, I'm here to help. I hope, if you do have funeral home questions, even if you don't pick me, call us. We're regular people. We want to help. We want you to use us. But if you don't, again, it's no hard feelings. You have 48 funeral homes in this city. I'm sure 40 of them are okay, but only one Brooks. I'm just kidding. But in all seriousness, pick who you want, at the end of the day. And some of you have friends and ties with them, that's okay. As long as you're happy, I'm happy, And if you ever got a question about it, call us. We're here. Yes, ma'am. Young lady in the back.
To God be all the glory. I had to come this evening because of who was here presenting. I want to thank God for them, because during the time that my mother transitioned, and that was in 2008, praise God, I was caught in this very scenario that all of you are talking about. Mother that didn't discuss business, didn't know what was what, in a very emotional state, ran up to my pastor and said, Pastor, you got to pray for me right now. He did, as he always does, and I thank God for him more than he'll ever know eternally. But I thank you too, Brooks, because you all came to my rescue that day, and I am eternally grateful. Everything that you see here with them is them and more. They were so helpful to me at a time that I needed somebody, and the Lord sent me them. You helped me to navigate that paperwork that I needed at a time that I didn't know what was going on all around me. Lord, beam me up. But you helped me, and I thank you for that. I continued on, and Mom was taken care of. By the grace of God, everything worked out. So I thank you. Being the oldest and the one that has to do it all, oh Lord, help us, Jesus. And thank God for these presentations for us as a people as a whole. So much we don't know. But thank God for the ones who inform us to help us to know when those situations before they come to us happen. That is a blessing. And Pastor, I thank you for this, because this is very enlightening. God bless you.
Thank you so much for sharing that. And I take pride in 08. It's my first year. And I've evolved, and of course, ideally, we've gotten better. But to trust me, a young kid coming out, and, it means a lot to hear that, because a lot of times I don't hear nothing till later, or, it means a lot. So thank you. That's what inspires us and keeps us going, is those comments motivate us, and we want to be the best, and we're working on that, and I feel we're the best, but I want to get that word out there, and I want to help at the end of the day. So was there any more comments before I let you go? I can talk all night. So. No, I'm just kidding. I won't do that. But before I go, I want to thank Pastor Gillespie. I want to thank you all coming out tonight. And I just really want to thank him and a lot of these ministers that are entrusting us to speak, because you can't have anybody coming in your church. They got to be standing for something. And, I take pride in that. I grew up in the church, still am. My dad's a pastor, if you don't know. And I respect this place, and I respect every church that I get the opportunity to speak. But I will speak at your house, at your party, anywhere. We never charge for coming out. And if you know anyone anywhere, I will be at a nursing home with 3 candidates or 50 people, or I'll come here. I love to share this story, and it needs to be talked about, and I'm serious what I do. I don't want anyone to pass, but when that time happens, I'm ready to jump into action. Denzel can vouch. We're like Batman. We have suits hanging on the door at night, and we jump into action. We want to get to the hospital to get your loved one versus you waiting 4 or 5 hours. We take pride in getting there in an hour. And that's not a joke. Like, we jump up at night. We have other staff. But if we're in town, we're going. I want to go. I want to be there. And this is our philosophy. If I can meet every single family, I'm going to meet you first. I love my staff, but today I was at a conference all day at Frost. It was killing me because Denzel's like, this is happening, this is happening. I'm itching because I don't care about the conference. I want to be at work. And I love what I do. Like, and Chrissy can tell you, I don't want to miss. I don't want to do anything but be there. So if I'm not working a funeral Saturday, I'm not mad at anyone, but I'm mad because I want to be at work. I'll go watch somebody's funeral. But I love it. I don't love death, but I love helping. So I take it serious. We watch funerals and just by the wheel's crooked. And we want to be the best. We take it serious and we love this. So thank you all. I love you all for your time. Thank you, Mother, for sharing that comment. And if anything I can do, please just call me. I'm not going to bite. I'm just here to help. All right. Thank you.
Yeah, let's do a great love welcome and appreciation. Man, I mean, extremely knowledgeable. Very, very, yeah, amen. What an awesome, I know you folks are proud, man. Like I say, I watched the maturation process. Yeah, what you're doing, you do. Okay, without holding you any much longer, which one of y'all gonna share with us a brief, I almost want to say horror story. I'm saying it because of this. That's what I get. I get those. We watch people, we watch things like this disturb family unity. Watch things such as these cause fights and fallouts that sometimes are never mended. We watch people put themselves in places and positions where there's no time for healing. And so I don't know what you might have for us in closing, but my conviction through all this, Hosea 4 and 6 says, my people perish for lack of knowledge. So these 3 weeks or 4 weeks that we're going to spend together, I think it's good for us to be as candid as we can, to be as, ask the questions we need to ask. Again, thank you for your spirit. Couldn't have had a better start because you have said to us, I want you to have this whether you go with me or not. Now that part won me right there. So I thank you all for that. And just the utmost respect for both of you, and for your family name. But that's part of what this whole thing that has been burdening me because Hebrew 9 and 27 says it's appointed unto man once to die. We don't want to talk about it. We want to deal with it. I tried it at my house. All right. And if you want to, and I die, and then everybody got a U-Haul go show up at the house. Am I telling the truth? Negroes gonna come out from under rocks and everywhere else talking about my daddy's stuff, my brother's stuff, my sister. Am I helping anybody? So I see it more times than I want to tell you. So that's why we're here. Because, man, if you know better, you should do better. I ain't gonna say everybody do better when they know better, but if you know better, you have no excuse for not doing better. Your presence where you show, y'all scared me at first because I was worried about y'all's fair weather with the rain. I was kind of worried, but thank y'all for not melting and showing up. Yeah, for tonight, man, what a great time. So that's where I am. So during the noon session, we're dealing with testimonials and things of that nature, and horror stories from funerals and death and dying and all the things that I'm inundated with, and that you are. So my concern is you. So God put you in my spirit for me to be able to address those things that are hurting you, and some preventative stuff to keep you from getting into situations that cause all this drama in families. Yeah, it causes all this hurt and care. You got enough. You got the grieving process, and I think I want to add this, and y'all can tell me if it should be something different. Nobody in here grieves the same. Everybody here deals with death and dying differently. Do you. Don't do me. Don't do her. Do you. Yeah, you do you. Your relationship with God will tell you what to do. Yeah, but you can't exclude him. You have to include him. Amen. You have to follow his lead. on the things that we need to know to make this time in our lives. I told him this morning, there are two things that I, for sure, that you know somebody who died and you're going to die. And you have to deal with it. Yeah, and we need to deal with it before, it's so out of hand that nobody can do anything about it. Before you have to put things on hold and do, man, let's get our houses in order, okay? That's all Pastor said. I don't know what you can afford, what you can't afford, what you can do, what you can't do. Daughter, just let's get our houses in order. Man, one last thing. I was saying that we have gotten so to where, God bless y'all's heart, man. I can only imagine what y'all see, because some of the stuff I see just blows my mind. We've gone from memorializing people to having talent shows. Have you noticed that? People don't want funerals no more. They want to take 15 seconds of fame to get up and say, we was drinking last time we were together and we was going with the same girl. What does that have to do? But that's what we're seeing. Am I the only one? People don't want the word no more. Everybody want to talk and throw the preacher 2-3 minutes to do something. Okay, I'm doing my next week's thing. Yeah, but those are the things, Dave, those are the things that we're dealing with, y'all. And it's not hard for me. I do what I do. But I don't like to see what it does to you. I don't like seeing what it does to you and your families and your relationships and your health, your mental health, your physical health. Yeah, baby.
First, giving all praises to God. It is really, really, really important for everybody to have life insurance. It's also really important for you to put in writing what you want to happen, even with your kids. Because I'm not sure if you remember, my little niece, when my sister passed, she was 9. We were in Medellin Cemetery, and they were pulling out guns.
I told them about that this morning, fights and stuff. I jumped on
They wanted to take
dudes back
the
6'5".
kid. They did not want her to go with her father.
Yeah.
But the state of Texas is a pro-parent state. So she went with her dad, and this man told him when they released these doves, get your baby, get in that car, and get out the cemetery. I'd never, ever seen anything like that before. So if you have little children or grandchildren that are in your care, make sure that you put everything in writing. Make sure all the kids got life insurance. All these kids killing each other. They dying at 13, 14, 15. They out here shooting, and then they got GoFundMes, and we selling plates and passing the offering tray at the service. Life insurance is important, but it's really important to put down what you want to see happen on paper. And that way there's no confusion and there's no pulling out guns at the cemetery.
Man. Yeah, well, I guess you don't have to do your horror story now. There were 8 fights that day. I know because I was trying to break up all 8 of them. I jumped on the back of a 6'5" guy and slammed the door on another one to keep him bringing his gun out. That's what I was doing that day at a funeral. I'm telling you what I had to do that day. That kind of stuff was happening. Thanks be to God, the 6'5" guy at least had the common decency to come back and say, Pastor, I'm sorry, I shouldn't have done that. I said, you shouldn't have done that before I jumped my crazy self on your bed. But do you remember that? All those things were going on. That's what I was doing. Yeah, baby.
To teach instead of eulogizing my mom.
Yeah.
So, but I think Pastor, everything got straightened out, and he ended up apologizing to the family.
Yeah, and we're gonna. I believe God is gonna bring us to a better place when this will have ended. I think there's gonna be some healing taking place when this is all over. Isn't that good news? That God is gonna provide us an opportunity to heal from some hurts. And I know a whole lot of y'all. Some of y'all, question was raised to me today. Yesterday. How do I get back to my normalcy? And I'm paraphrasing, but that's the story Tracy, the thing Tracy asked me. I don't know. My thing to her was, you're not going to get back there. There's a new normal for you. And you're going to have to function in this new normal until that's interrupted. And then you have to transition into another normal. So things are not going to ever go back to the way they were. It's our being able to function under the circumstances we have. All right? And so that's why this. Man, thank y'all. Y'all haven't been trying to run out and ask to go, nothing like that. Thank y'all. I appreciate y'all. Have anything last? Come on. Man, at least say good evening to us there, Zell. You know, you got a star name. You got to say something for you.
His middle name is.
Of course, I'm the quiet one out the group, but good evening to Greater Love. And like my brother said, thank you for the invitation just for us to come out and speak this evening. It means a lot to us just to come out to educate this community, because we love our community. Yeah. We have to be educated on just life insurance, pre-planning, funeral services, just have that knowledge. And like I said, I thank my brother. Thank you for all just coming out. We definitely appreciate you and we love you. Thank you.
And I'll be quick. I just have one favor. If you have time after we dismiss, I'd love to just take a selfie with everyone and put it on my Facebook. If you got time, we could do it now or right after we dismiss. I think I have to dismiss.
Man, that's gonna take the Twitter. Just hold your head over here.
Oh, you trying to hide behind?
Everybody. Hey, it's gone.
get ready for the greater love experience. Are you ready for the greater